Welcome, everybody, to another Microsoft Unboxed pod. This is episode 79. I'm your host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by
David Allen. Hope everybody out there is doing well. We are about, 2 weeks from Christmas, so we're almost there.
Yes. So, with that being said, this will probably be the last time you guys will hear from us in 2025. And we want to start off by saying thank you for being
Yes,
with us
thank
throughout
you.
2025. We will do some more congratulatory things towards the end of the pod, but let's get you guys into and out for your holiday season with the last bit of news for the year, at least from two knuckleheads like ourselves. We are going to be talking about Disney's investment into OpenAI. It's the biggest news that happened over the last 48 hours. So we're going to give our reaction to it, our thoughts, where we stand on things like this. We're also going to be talking about the Copilot recap. This is something Microsoft kind of tossed out there to be like, hey, everybody, investors, it's worth it. Keep spending money. AI is, we're nailing it, as Microsoft might want everyone to believe. We also have another big story, which kind of went under the radar for a lot of people as far as reporting is concerned. Windows on ARM, particularly the Prism layer that kind of makes this whole thing run, got an update, but it's a big one. And we're going to go over the details of it and why it's big and what it can mean for all of these new Copilot Plus PCs that are scheduled to be coming out in 2026, but we'll see at CES. We're going to also talk about Call of Duty and changing the schedule and why. We're going to get the details of that. We're going to have predictions for the week, which probably should be our predictions for at least the end of the year or CES predictions. Because I don't know if we may do a pod before then, but we'll do that. We'll get some CES predictions out of the way. Free play days, as usual, what we're going to be ending the year on as far as gaming wise, what we're going to be getting into. With all that being said, I'm actually going to let you go first if you have a weekly gripe.
I've got a weekly gripe, and mine is sort of tech related, sort of not. It's just when I think of these weekly gripes, when we talk about them, I just take them for whatever hits me that week. So if it's tech related or whatever, I think we're oversaturated. And what I mean by that is, we've got TikTok, we've got the YouTube. I think consumers are oversaturated, and the ability to comprehend important things has kind of gone by the wayside. And the reason I bring that up, when you send out things like billing notices or things about your accounts or whatever, whether it be your bank account, your credit card account, your streaming account, or whatever, I'm noticing a trend in people. If it's a one paragraph document, they read the first two sentences and skip the rest. And I don't think it's ignorance of not knowing what to do. I mean, because I feel like, you got signed up for these services, you know how to get to these services. So obviously you were able to figure that out. But they don't read the rest. Like, for example, I had several people contact me this week that had seen things in tech or seen an invoice from somewhere and go, what's this? Well, if you read paragraph 2, it explains all that in simple detail. And the person that was asking me kind of said, well, I don't have time for it. So I said, well, why don't you have time for it? Well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And I get we're all busy and it's the holiday season, as you mentioned. We're all very busy. But this particular person had everything on that list was social media engagements. They had to make the TikToks. They had to make the Facebook, Instagram reels. They had to make the YouTube video. And we do it too. But have we become such a society that social media takes priority over our daily lives? If so, maybe we need to back it down a gear or even visit something like we're going to talk about here on the pod that Australia is pulling off here. we'll kind of have to watch and see how it goes for them. But that's kind of my gripe for the week. When I get something concerning my accounts, and certainly, accounts I hear about end of the year price increases that we're all getting, hey, this streaming service is going up $1.50 a month next year, but we're still bringing you that great content that you enjoy. And we're looking forward to that new great content that we're going to give you. I take time to read those things because those things affect my pocketbook and help me determine whether I'm going to stick with that service. And that's that moment that I make that decision. Is that service something I need on my budget, aka Game Pass, with their price increases? Or is that something I can eliminate from my budget and maybe put that money towards something else? Put it toward the rising grocery bill, put it toward something that means more to me. I recently did this with my Netflix subscription. My dad was the Netflix watcher in the house. And, as you guys have heard me mention, he passed away recently. So I sat down and looked, how much did I watch Netflix? Not a lot, but I did watch a lot of Peacock and I did watch a lot of Paramount and stuff like that. But I didn't watch a whole lot of Netflix. So I took that minute to sit down and cancel that for a little while. Maybe I bring it back when I need it. Maybe I don't. But I did take the time to read my emails this month and get all those nice price increases that are going to hit my credit card next year. So kind of my gripe. I get that it's not Windows and tech related, but that's kind of my gripe for the week. What do you have, my friend?
My gripe is actually something you teased earlier, which is this Australian ban. This is, again, news that was today, the 12th of, I think it went into effect 2 days ago. It's a social media ban. I'm actually going to go galaxy brain for a second. So I'm going to need everyone to hang out with me.
Okay, kind of like I did.
Buckle your seatbelt, put your tinfoil hat on. But what you just said triggered something in my head, and I had to bring up a post or a video that we're going to share with our group right now.
Okay.
But the idea that we may be overstimulated when it comes to social media and people having trouble, having their attention spans, engage for long periods of time, for things that are less entertaining, like videos that are 40 seconds to a minute long, is having to read, going back to the old times of just taking time to enjoy something for a long period of time or endure something for a long period of time. I said that to say that the social media ban, I think, is an attempt to address that. In short, basically, and again, I'll go over some more details of the thing, but they're basically banning in Australia. It went into effect on the 10th. People who are, let me make sure I get the age right, I believe before the age of 16. So if you're younger than 16, it's incumbent upon platforms to make sure that these, subs 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds cannot access your site. Sites such as TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Reddit, Facebook, and Threads, X, Twitch, and Kick are all on the hook for this. And again, the idea is to basically, quote, give children back their childhoods. So they, it's not even like, oh, you can't join it from, school hours, which we try to take away the phones. They're saying if we get rid of it all together from that age group, you guys go out and ride your bikes, go play football, I mean football, I mean soccer in Australia, go do other things, enjoy yourselves. And then when you turn 16, you can come back. Or depending on what age you are, if you're 15 and you just lost it, you'll come back. And if you're, you started off never having it, then you'll know, like, hey, not until I turn 16, just like, we do with cigarettes or alcohol, that you can have access to this thing. Now, here's where I go galaxy brain. This can become very dangerous, though.
Yes.
Because we are about to enter a phase where, and this is, where we're about to bring in AI to a bunch of other things, where people are losing their jobs. And there's no social safety net here in the United States. There's little ones everywhere else in the world. They don't have a robust one. But the idea that, your job is taken from you via AI, a lot of people, and we're starting to see a trend, and so I want to share this video, are running to social media to make a living. And if we start regulating when people can access social media at 16 or whatever, it's going to be harder for people who are losing their jobs to get the audiences, to get the people that they need, the viewership, things like that, to necessarily make a living, where we're gatekeeping this stuff. And this kind of goes into my gripe that, well, everyone's championing this and it sounds good on paper. I think the execution is really going to backfire on all of us. Because once you start with social media as your target, as people do with, like, say some political parties start with trans people, then they expand to gay people, then they expand to people of color, then they expand to, it becomes this over-encompassing thing. So you start with social media, but what if it's, certain other business sites? And we know that tangentially speaking, they're also banning pornographic sites here in the States. And I'm sure that, in other places in the EU, where you can only access those through your ID, the same way that these kids, when they turn 16 or 17, would have to access these sites. And again, they're going to force adults, us who are older, in order to use our IDs in order to validate. So it's not just, necessarily offering to the kids or punishing the children or, punishing these websites. It's giving them access to more information. Right now on Facebook, you don't necessarily need an actual ID. You can, there's arguments that you should, but we don't need, government issued ID in order to validate that. In order to do part of this ban, I would assume parents are going to now need to authenticate their sites. You're going to have to verify your age. You can't just say, oh, I'm 41. They're going to say, hey, I need your driver's license and maybe your social security to make sure you're 41, so that your child who's also in the house can't use that, your name or whatever to get in as well. So when I'm saying that, as I said, to bring it all together, we are now telling people what sites they can and can't go to. And there are a lot of people who are currently using these sites in order to make money. When AI starts taking these jobs, these people are going to start running to these sites. And I don't think, as we, start to boil out of who can access the internet, it's only going to be the people who can afford to at this point. The internet's going to start costing people. It's going to start costing us. And it's not going to be like, oh, we can just pay with our attention spans for advertising. It's going to be, no, you need to pay to access this site. And I fear, again, you're going to have, and here's what I wanted to share with you guys real quick. You're not even going to have people who are going to be able to do the bare minimum to keep themselves sustained using social media. One, they won't have the chops for it. Two, it's going to be super gatekeeped. It's not just going to be, access with an ID. It's not going to be access with an ID plus a monthly subscription, because these businesses are now going to say, we need to make revenue. Our revenue used to be ads even to kids, inappropriate or not. That's how we made our money. If we cut off half our audience or 2/3 of our audience, now we're going to start charging for it. So here is, where's it at? Here, I'll share that with us. So for those of you who are listening, we'll put in the show notes what we're about to view. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Let me know if you can hear it. Can you hear it?
Give me a minute or two of your time. Engage with the video. It helps my family out. We're homeless.
Can you save me for 1 minute so I can pay off my massive medical debt from my cancer treatment, please?
Please stick around for a full minute to help me save my dog.
Just watch the whole thing. Watch for the full minute so I can get paid.
This is day 2 of me trying to pay for my son's spine surgery out of pocket because he no longer has insurance.
This is day 18 of secretly posting on TikTok every day to try and help fund my brother's brain surgery.
Can you guys watch this video for a minute so that I can get my son a wheelchair for school?
As many of you know, I have a brain tumor and I'm unable to work due to having seizures, and I was having trouble with starting a GoFundMe.
Please do not scroll. My dog Max has recently been diagnosed with a cancerous tumor that has branched off near the spine. In result, he has lost majority of function in his left leg due to the tumor pressing on nerves. If you can stay on this video, watch it in its entirety. Like it, comment, repost. It literally will mean the world to me.
Those of you who can see that to do with queuing report, when he talks about social media in order to pay for things. And I feel like as we're about to cut off this, and perhaps we'll see it triculate into the US, and they do a very similar thing because they've already done with pornography. We're going to be cutting off our future when a lot of us are probably going to be laid off from AI, and we don't have, a universal basic income. We're going to have to run to social media, and now these social media sites are probably going to charge because, again, they're losing their audience. So again, my gripe, essentially, coming back to bring it all back into it, is that yes, we need to address children ability to access social media. We need to regulate it better, but this blanket, if at a certain age all of you are not able to access it, I think is going to, again, backfire. I think we all need to take a step back and say, maybe this Australian approach isn't the best, but again, we'll see how it bears out overall in general. I'll let you get the last word, and then we'll actually get started on our news.
I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to keep this very brief so we can get rolling in our news. I'm going to agree with what you said, but two things come to mind there. VPNs will always circumvent these things. So VPNs at some point may come under fire, have to make an adjustment. So you may lose that privacy that people have, depended on VPNs for. You may lose it to some degree. The second thing that came to mind was internet here in the U.S. has always been an all-you-can-eat. And we went through this several years ago of, what were the role of internet providers? Were they just dumb pipe providers? And the idea of censoring content did come up for a while, because if you remember several years ago, a lot of the websites turned themselves black for a day. Everything was a black screen. Even Google went black for the day, trying to protest the idea of the internet censorship thing. So when you mentioned IDs, it made me think of it this way. What if we all had IDs, and to access the internet and this would of course be baked into your Android phones, your Apple phones, whatever, at some point, maybe you only do it one time a day or whatever. But you have to show some type of identification when you sign on to the internet. If you're a child, you kind of do it like the Apple accounts, where the parent creates the account for the child, and what the child does falls under the parent. And if everybody's got an ID, then it kind of shows a path of responsibility. Then if somebody does something they shouldn't, or somebody gets involved in something they shouldn't see, then ultimately it reflects back to that ID, which in turn would reflect back to the parent. And some parents are good parents, some parents aren't. That's a fact of life. We all were not lucky enough to get good parents. But I feel like that would be a way to where, okay, little Johnny did something on the internet and saw something he shouldn't, or got tangled up in something, and Discord or whatever service it was they were using has sent an email about it. Okay, there's a track, there's a path to that parent. And you keep parents responsible for what the kids do and what the kids see. Now, I don't know that has any consequences, and I don't know what those consequences would be. But I do think that might be a better path than saying, look, you're under X age, so it's locked down.
That's true. But I also think, and I'm going to disagree with you slightly here.
Okay.
Mark this down your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of our rare disagreements. The putting the responsibility on the parent is very tough already. There are great parents, there are good parents, there are bad parents. It runs a spectrum. If a parent who thought they were a good parent has, say a school shooter in their house, and they genuinely did not know, people will go to the parent like, oh, the parent should be punished for this. And it's like, hey, you can only do so much. Sometimes your kids just don't talk to you. Sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes you're just too busy. You're working 2-3 jobs, and your kid is left at home. So I do disagree a little bit about the idea. What I'm thinking is we need to stop letting these social media companies say, hey, we can't moderate. We can't regulate. No, you can. You have the money.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with that.
Moderate. Facebook is saying, oh, use AI. Moderate that, the service itself. No. You get actual people who lived experiences. And I remember there were these horror tales of what people see on Facebook. you provide those people with the mental health that they need in order to maintain their job, to keep moderating stuff. You employ millions of those people. That is job creation right there. Yeah, it's going to affect your bottom line because you have to give people health care and give them a job. And, you won't make billions, you might make millions. But this is a group effort. This is to keep our children, the employees' children, because they will be using these social media things. And then we help regulators talk with these companies to say, hey, this is what we think you guys should moderate. And the moderators will come back and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. So you guys need to make laws, and you guys need to make exceptions and exemptions to all of these things that we can regulate within each platform. We're doing it over here on Facebook. We think it might apply for X, and X can talk to other people. Right now, we're all siloed. Everyone's just trying to make the line go up by themselves as quickly as they can. And our politicians, regulators are all watching the line go up so that their bank accounts can go up as well. I think, again, we're not going to say, all or nothing. That is, we're going to see how this works out for Australia. And I think the ID thing is a step, but it's also putting a lot of burden on the parent. I think we need to put the burden back on these companies and say, hey, you shouldn't have these things on here. And if you do, you're going to get fined. And in order to make sure that you don't have them on there, you hire actual people who can spot these things. Maybe they work in tandem with AI. Maybe they have a system that they, plug into when they get to work that expedites, the viewing process, but they can, at the end of the day, make these calls. That's where I think we're letting them off the hook by saying, all right, well, we're going to help you by saying, just don't allow people on it. And they're going to say, okay, well, we don't need to moderate anymore. We'll just not let 16-year-olds on, and then we'll put in a new identification system where we get more ID information for people. Now, instead of going on X and just putting in your name, you now need to have your public ID, and I need to know where your social security is. I get more information from you. Thank you, government. It's a working backhand kind of situation. I don't agree with that, but we need to get in the news. We're about 20 minutes into this story. If you got one last thing, go right ahead. I was
just going to say, I agree with you. I think that is also a valid point and a valid way. The only reason I didn't go that way is when it crossed my mind, I'm thinking, well, there's some parents sitting out there with the way some folks are in this world going, well, I don't want a company determining what my kids look after, but yes, I it's not necessarily a disagreement. I agree with you. I agree with your point as well.
Yeah. And we'll revisit this. Hopefully in a couple of months, we'll keep track of how Australia's doing, because I do believe it's going to spark conversations. Probably in the rural areas from, our Republican counterparts who are already kind of hell-bent on doing that with others, assets. And we'll probably see legislation or bills or laws or offers that are pretty similar to that. With that being said, let's get into other things, such as Disney investing $1 billion in OpenAI, which I am not for.
No, me either.
Yeah. This happened, I want to say also about 2 days ago. So again, this is why this kind of overlapped the Australian thing. One, because we're here in the US, we're US based. So we kind of saw that as an overshadow. But for those of you who need the details, obviously he said Disney invested $1 billion in OpenAI. They've also licensed over 200 characters for AI to generate short form videos via the Sora platform. So people can make videos, their own videos of Snow White. If you didn't like the way the Snow White live action movie ended, you're not a Rachel Ziegler fan. I am. I think she's awesome. But if you're not, go ahead and make your own now, apparently. The deal runs for 3 years and excludes character likenesses and voices to avoid union conflicts. So you're not going to get the voices of those characters, but you can animate, Mickey to do whatever you want now, which is kind of dangerous and gross. Disney will integrate OpenAI tools internally and showcase select fan-generated content on Disney Plus. So, oh man, this is dystopian. I'm going to keep reading and I'll let you jump in. Bob Iger framed the partnership as empowering fans while protecting creators, stressing the voices and likenesses are not included. Sam Altman highlighted the collaboration as a model for responsible innovation between AI and creative industries. Highly disagree. Employees expressed unease about job displacement and brand dilution. Totally agree. Actors and voice actors were relieved by the exclusion, but remained skeptical about future risk. Artists and animators criticized the deal as unethical and damaging to creative labor, calling AI output soulless slop. Agree with them. Fans reacted with backlash online, mocking the idea of AI-generated Disney content and questioning its artistic value. What are your thoughts? Because I have one in particular that's...
Stop messing with my Walt Disney. I've been to Disney many times, and I know you live very close to Disney, so it can be a regular trip for you. But there's something to be said about the way you feel inside of Disney. There's something to be said about when you're watching Disney, and it almost at times feels like a fairy tale, and it feels authentic. That's the word I'm looking for. It feels very authentic. You see people's talents, and some of the talents that I have seen at Disney in voicing and acting as well. Some of that talent when you leave that performance, some of those performances, your jaw is open. You're like, wow, what did I just experience? Even, some of the rides and, exhibits, they're so realistic. You're like, wow, what did I just experience? Last time I went to Disney was 2016, and the Star Wars were the big exhibits there. And, I'm watching those, and I was close enough to shake a few hands and see these people at their best. And I don't want AI. Yeah, there's a job taking element in there too. Of course, AI takes these actors and performers' jobs, but I do not want AI playing with authentic Disney. Now, I'm not crazy in the fact that I understand that part of Disney is CGI. I get that. But these people that are like us, sitting behind these microphones or sitting in front of these cameras, doing these movements so they can be masked over into the production, leave them be. Leave them be. Yes, it supports their family. I get it. They have a job. But Disney has always been that untouchable product. The magic of Disney, that's what I'm looking for. The magic of Disney, the rules that two Mickeys cannot be seen in the same place at the same time, or one of them gets fired. We've all heard that story too. And we've all heard some of the rules over some of the Disney characters where they go to this extra effort to keep it authentic. I want my Disney to stay authentic, and I want AI to take a swift boot in the pants and get out the Disney door. There, I'm done.
I agree with your sentiment. I'm hoping this accelerates the displeasure the distaste people have with AI in the future, because it seems still gimmicky. Now, more of my concern was the line about Disney will integrate OpenAI tools internally and showcase select fan-generated content on Disney Plus. This is a play to edge out writers, creators, artists. They're saying you can now take our 200 character license. I'm sure they're going to expand it over the next 3 years to add more people, even more modern characters. Right now, I think they're all older characters. So Steamboat Willie and maybe Snow White and Cinderella and some other characters like that. I don't think we're going to get into the newer ones, which is like Wreck-It Ralph and others. Who knows? But they're saying create content for it, and we will showcase on Disney Plus. And people will jump to that saying like, oh, I can be featured on this. The problem is that you won't make the money that an actual artist would have made, or an actual high budget movie. You're not going to make the millions. What you're going to do is make a couple, maybe if you're lucky, maybe $1,000. You'll have your name up somewhere. But for that $1,000, you've now created an entire industry of, like I said, artists, writers, voice actors, and a whole bunch of other people. Because they're going to say, here, not only are we starting to get content that's watched because it's AI slop, but you can participate in it. And the more people want to participate in it, the less we need to actually produce high quality things. Mm-hmm. Now, Bob Iger he put in, I forget the guy's name who they just booted out 2 years ago. But Bob Iger is back, and he's supposed to kind of steady the ship. He left the green light to do a bunch of MCU shows and kind of spearhead how streaming is going. It was really rocky under the guy I forget the name of the guy who was there, but it was really rocky under him. So they brought Bob Iger. They said, you get the hell out of here, you suck. We're bringing the new guy, or Bob Iger, back. He's trying to steady the ship. He's trying to prepare for the future. And the future is content creation from it's the most inexpensive resource. It's viewers. So I'm more worried about that. And again, I don't want to see AI slop in Disney Plus. I don't want my kids watching it either, because who knows how regulated that's going to be over time. Yeah, the first few pieces will be really nice, really artsy and crafted, but after some point, they're just going to expand that effort and say, hey, anybody can create it and put it in. You have your own channel. They'll start to make it a YouTube of Disney Plus, where you have your own channel and everyone has their own channel of these AI created things. And again, I think, diluted the value of the company, and you're just taking more jobs. And as we said it, but 20 minutes ago at the very beginning, you're going to have more people having to figure out new ways to make income. And again, social media used to be one way, but like we're starting to close that door on that as well. So I'm not a huge fan of this. I think the industry is not. I'm sure anybody who's listening, go on YouTube, go to any social media platform while you can here in the US, and read the comments. It is not. I don't think there's a lot of people other than maybe Sam Altman and Bob Iger who are championing this deal. So we will revisit that again in 2026. But you let us know your thoughts. Maybe we're being too old men yell at cloud like right now. Maybe there's an avenue where this makes sense to people, and maybe this is what people want.
We're old.
I don't think.
We're old.
Definitely.
We want our hard drives back. We don't want no cloud. We want real Disney characters. We're just old. So if we're wrong, tell us.
Please do. We have the Copilot report as our next story. And this one, I wouldn't say it was underrated as far as news is concerned, but it definitely, I think, needs to be reported. And the details of this is basically Microsoft analyzed about 37.5 million anonymized conversations in 2025, showing Copilot use split between work-focused queries on desktop and health fitness queries on mobile. So, and again, that feels like a no-brainer when you're at your desk. You're not really asking health-related questions because you're sitting. But when you're out and about, it's interesting that it isn't location-based or reference-based, like, hey, who's this actor? Who's that? It's mostly fitness stuff. So that was interesting to find out about the report. The report also highlighted Copilot's role both as a professional tool and a personal advisor. Again, people were asking tons of questions about, what can I do to make, better food or healthier food, or, what is a macro, things like that. But it does, Microsoft didn't point this out, but if you read through the report, you'll get the feeling that there's an over-reliance on AI in the health sector and life decisions. Mm-hmm. And I am worried about this because so far AI hasn't been known to be 100% accurate, at least for things that involve health and life decisions. I think you need to be at least batting above 95% in order for me to trust anything you say as far as my health is concerned or life decision. What are your thoughts on Microsoft's celebrated report? I think you and I talked off camera that it's more of a PR thing to kind of get investors to say, hey, it's still worth it, but maybe you have a different view now that we're on camera.
No, I share the same view. And I think all these reports, I think, you're probably going to see something for Gemini. You're probably going to see something from Meta. You're probably going to see something from Amazon. And you're probably, of course, going to see something from OpenAI for ChatGPT. And again, like you said, I think these are just, okay, look at all these things people are using AI for. Look, investors, see, it's not what they used it for, it's how many people used it. See, that's your investment. That's your money. Look at everything these people are doing. Nobody's questioning, kind of like you alluded to there with some of the health answers. We're all guilty. Oh, I got a bump on my hand. Well, let me take a picture of that. Let me send that to AI and see what they say. And for some people, that's your medical advice. And I get it. I'm going to, hold that side for just a minute. I get it. There's some people out there that can't afford healthcare. Healthcare is very expensive in this country. So that is what you go by. Nobody said that was accurate. Nobody checked that for accuracy. But this report doesn't care about that. This report cares about the fact that you're a statistic and you ask Copilot a question. So therefore, you're on the report or a number is on the report that represents your use. And look, investors, this is what we did. And I think until AI either busts its bubble or finds a path forward to where there is more legitimate use of AI and companies find a way to capitalize on it, this is how these companies are going to have to make the investors happy. This is how you put your usage on paper. This is why you don't see a yearly Copilot subscription. They want you on that paper 12 times. They don't want you up there one. They want you on there 12 times. So this is how these, Copilot, Gemini, etc., like I said, are, hey, investors, here's your money. Here's what you did. Now you want to give us some more so we can see if next year we can double that number. That's what we're going to do. We're going to double that number. And if we do this over here, this grand plan that we have, we might triple that money. So are you sure you want to keep that same investment for this year? Don't you want to increase that so we can see if we can triple that number? That's why these reports exist.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. You hinted on something that was a little dystopian, and that's the mood I'm in as of late, apparently. So I want to kind of get in on that, and that was the healthcare thing. Microsoft highlighted that, again, these things were overwhelmingly using the consumer aspect of this when you're not sitting at your desk for health and life decisions.
I agree.
I wonder, this is maybe one of my predictions for the coming weeks and probably all of 2026. I wonder if that number spikes, at least here in the US, as about 20 million people are about to lose healthcare benefits, subsidies for healthcare benefits. So I say that to say that people may forego actual healthcare, paying, upwards of $500 to $700 a month for healthcare, and say, hey, you know what? And again, this might be a benefit for Microsoft. I'll pay the $30 a month in order to tell this machine, like, hey, here are my symptoms. Here's how I'm feeling. Here's, I got a scratch cut. I'm not feeling well. I'm feeling sick. I have headaches constantly. What do I do? And, people might say, hey, Kareem, you're being, obtuse. There's always been WebMD. People have always done stuff like that. But WebMD has always just been like, hey, I fell down. I hit my knee. What should I do? And it's like, oh, you got cancer. It never actually gave you steps, which is what, and a confidence in which, everyone kind of believes like, hey, I know that when I fall down, I don't have cancer. So WebMD, you're just kind of there as like, oh, what is the most extreme case thing? This thing has been, confidently giving people information, steps, and remedies based on what it finds on the internet. That doesn't mean that it's an actual doctor, but people may forego, saying, hey, I can't afford to pay $700, but I can afford to tell Microsoft, here's $30. Again, my stomach has been turning. Here are some of my symptoms, and this thing will spit out confidently, like, hey, you have this. Here are the medical recommendations for this, and then people will type in home remedies, probably. What can I substitute instead of actual medication? And it will confidently spit this out. And I feel like that could be very detrimental to people. But again, it's my prediction that we'll see that.
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a real life example. It's also a feel better tool and,
Yes.
and a doctor interpretation tool. Like, for example, when my father was having his issues, we had all the medical reports right there in front of him. He had, he was hooked up to the hospital app, and a lot of times, test results and notes from doctors would hit the hospital app, and we kind of knew what was coming in the door, before that doctor got there. But when you get like blood reports and you kind of know what you're battling, and they show you that they show you this picture of all your levels. I was guilty as charged. Now, I didn't use it as de facto truth. I'm smarter than that. I know that AI is wrong sometimes. It was not a de facto truth, but we would take those screenshots and we would ask AI, okay, what do these levels mean when this is our diagnosis? We're all that was kind of the feel better, because you were able to see something for yourself before that person in the white coat came in. And it's their job to be stoic to some degree and kind of deliver that information, sometimes without emotion. Because that's their job. They can't get personally involved in the emotion always that's in your room. They've got other people in those rooms, in other rooms to deal with. So, we would take things like test results and whatnot, and I would sit over there in the corner and I'd be querying Gemini, and then I'd go ask Copilot and go, hey, what's the difference? And sometimes Copilot would give me what felt like a better answer. Sometimes Gemini would give me what felt like a better answer. So I think there is a point that we get to where, we've already graduated to telehealth. And when you compare telehealth to AI, really, there's a gap there that I feel like we can cross, because the only thing that's different with telehealth on the other end is it's a person you're talking to. So I could see that gap being bridged where there's, I'm going to do it, a health AI agent out there that can help with these things and give people some services that they need, with the caveat of, we're not always perfect. Consult your physician.
Yeah, just to kind of nail this home, and we'll move on to the next topic. I was just reading a report to kind of buffer our statement here that I think it was a report by Stat 10, and this report obviously came out in 2021, but it was saying a popular algorithm to predict sepsis missed most cases and sends frequent false alarm study finds. And so this is one of the situations where I think it's supposed to catch early signs of sepsis, which again, if anybody knows anything about it, is very deadly, very dangerous. And the major study found that this algorithm, this thing that was intended to do this, so again, this isn't just your general query for AI, but this is a specific algorithm, missed 2 out of every 3 real sepsis cases. So to your point that you just said, please consult a physician. I know it's going to get expensive. I know it's going to be hard come January for a lot of people, but I am worried that this Copilot report is kind of giving everyone a soft landing when there probably shouldn't be. I mean, yes, it's nice that people can use it, but I feel like people are going to be forced to rely on this thing because of, external conditions in the economy and through our government, things like that. And we're about to set ourselves up for a lot of bad stories. And I don't want to have to read these on this program. I'd like to read good innovations, things that are helpful, things that are, increasing job creation, that are increasing mental health, that are increasing enjoyment of the everyday experience of human life, not what we're constantly talking about here. I think our next story might do that, though. It's Windows on ARM. It was something that you wanted to highlight. Let's turn this up. Let's turn a corner. Let's end the year on something positive. What do you want to give the highlights for this on?
Well, I think this is a big deal. This is the second story I had on my docket, but we'll start here. Microsoft is rolling out a big update for Windows Prism. It's, for those that don't understand, let me tell you what Prism emulation is first. ARM and x86 are not the same. Most of our apps up until the ARM chips came out wrote for x86. So that's a different instruction set than what ARM can translate. So there has to be a layer in between called the Prism emulation layer that sits in between to interpret these instructions so that your Snapdragon powered PC can run your apps that are not ARM native, such as Adobe is the first thing that comes to mind, because Adobe is under a little under a little pressure for not having native apps for ARM. That's a whole other discussion. But maybe some of these improvements that I'm getting ready to tell you about will help Adobe. So the headline improvement is support for AVX and AVX2 instructions. These instructions are critical for modern workloads and parallel processings and are essential for everything physics calculations, games, rendering, and creative applications. So there we go. There's our mention of creative applications. Let's see what else we have alongside that. Prism emulates other specialized instructions like BMI, FMA, or F16C. Collectively, these means apps that previously failed to install due to missing CPU instructions may install more easily. And one that we highlighted was a sound app that I don't have the name for right off the top of my head, but we had a sound app there that it would not install. When you tried to install it, it would say not compatible. Your CPU cannot do it. Wouldn't happen, so you'd have to go back to your x86 unit or your Mac to get that app to install. Hopefully, these updates will help with that. Now, you will also see support for game anti-cheats, which is another step of getting Copilot PCs more in the gaming industry, and we're kind of hoping that these new Copilot PCs that we're going to see here in early 2026 have that enhanced graphic capability that we're talking about. So are we going to see Call of Duty 4K at 144 hertz? Probably not, but that's not where PCs started either. I know you've got up there on the screen. Let's see. It was the setup for
Ableton Live 12.
Thank you.
It's a it's actually a good sign, because it's ARM has trouble processing digital audio workstations, and it's because it's multi-channeled. So you're inputting audio, you're exporting a sound, you're inputting more sounds, exporting other combinations. It's just a multi-threaded experience that, again, ARM has up until this point, at least for Windows on ARM, has trouble doing. This is one of the big things that kind of gave Apple its leap out of the gate, was that GarageBand could just natively work, and Intel up until this point had been the only processor that could process all of these things, all these inputs and exports and rendering all at once. So again, on the video, for those of you who can't see, before this update, just couldn't even do it. Now with the update, you can do it. Now I haven't downloaded. I don't know what the experience is just yet, because you can do stuff on Windows and ARM, using Adobe Premiere, which is also graphically intense. And depending on what you're doing, it could be a good experience, it could be a decent experience, or it could be a slog. So we'll see. But again, they've gone through updates. They've even, some companies have done beta versions, which are just natively written for ARM. So we don't even have to do this translation layer, and they work like a charm. So we'll see. But this is, again, Microsoft and whoever's working on the Prism layer. This is them putting the work in and grinding it out in order to make this experience better over time, versus throwing something out with a splashy new computer and then saying, all right, good luck, and we'll let the developers do it or work on it. And the developers saying, we're working on phones, guys, so best of luck to you. And then nothing gets done. This is kind of what happened with the Snapdragon X, or what was this, Surface X, Surface Pro X or whatever.
Yep.
Gave out splashy, announcement, dropped the hardware, said developers come play, and they said, no thanks. Nope. We already have friends over here, and nothing happened. This is Microsoft, like I said, doing work. So it's really cool. Really appreciate it, and we'll report back on it as we get more of our hands on with it. We got our last story, which is Call of Duty. This is another one we put up. It's a gaming one. It's a fun one.
Yeah, this may, I think this is actually might make a lot of people happy. It may not make the bank account over at Activision all that happy, but I think this is going to make.
At this point, we don't care.
No, that's true. We really don't care. Call of Duty had a big announcement this week. Let's start with the good first. The seasons will continue. So as those that know, we've got a season every quarter. Season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, and if a game goes into the
the soundboard, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to abuse it. Sorry.
Yes, we are. And if it goes into next year, of course, it's season 5, season 6, etc. But seasons will continue. And I think, well, let me give you the bad news first. The bad news is the yearly iterations of Call of Duty every October or every September, October are officially over for Black Ops. Now, I found it interesting that they said Black Ops and Modern Warfare. Notice they did not say new titles. They said Black Ops updates and Modern Warfare updates will no longer see their annual releases. Now, for me, as a longtime player and a longtime gamer, I always look forward to September, October, November, December, because Call of Duty would come out and somebody would come out to compete with Call of Duty. You'd see something new released. Like this year, we got the new Battlefield. We got Battlefield 6. Battlefield's in the running to, play with Call of Duty. And, who's winning and who's losing doesn't matter. But the reason this is happening is the Black Ops numbers aren't what they used to be. Gamers are pretty much disappointed. I have been streaming Call of Duty here for several weeks on Twitch. And it's a fun game to stream. And that's because you get all the talk that goes with it. But when you really get involved in the game, you kind of see in some ways it's just not all that great this year. They're not seeing the numbers they're used to seeing, so they realize they've got to backtrack, they've got to do something here because this is a trend. Gamers say that these new releases should be content packs, updates. Charge me for the content packs, charge me for the updates. I don't disagree. I do not disagree here. And I feel like we've got to get to a point where, as they said in their quote, and I will read you the quote here, where the game has got to be meaningful. To be clear, the future of Call of Duty is very strong, and we believe our best days are ahead of us, given the depth and talent of our development teams. We have been building the next era of Call of Duty, and it will deliver precisely on what you want, along with some surprises that push the franchise and the genre forward. Now, when I read that, two things come to mind. Battlefield 2042 went through something similar to this a couple years ago when it came out. The Battlefield team got together, they tried to fix it. They issued a similar statement. Battlefield 6 comes out, we're much better, according to a lot of gamers. Now, when you see this for Call of Duty, this tells me numbers aren't good. So they kind of back that up. Guess what you get next week? Free play. They don't say how long this free play is going to last. I found that interesting. they do not say how long this free play is going to last. So if you want, and what they want you to do is get in there and play the game for free. Give them their feedback or up our numbers for the investors. Yeah, maybe a little bit of that. If it's free, people tend to play. People tend to give feedback. But if it's free, you kind of maybe jilted your feedback a little bit because you're giving them the free game. Mm. So it's going to be interesting to see how Activision responds because, like our friend Paul Thurrott said, it's easy to make a game and it's easy to make trash when you know for surely that you're getting $1 billion a year about every October or so. So I agree with that. So let's see what Activision does here. How do they massage that $1 billion back into their budget? What do they do for gamers to subsidize that? They're not just going to not make anything next year. They've got to have that money, folks. I don't believe for 1 minute that October is going to come next year. Nothing for Call of Duty, and we're going to be hearing crickets. I just don't. I can't go there.
The problem is you're thinking of Activision as a business. You got to start thinking of Microsoft as a quirky startup that could just do whatever it wants in gaming and tell the gamers it's all software. Screw you guys. Subscriptions.
And that's going to hurt the Game Pass numbers too. I didn't think of that. It's going to hurt the Game Pass numbers because I have seen plenty of it. There's a lot of people giving Microsoft that money every month just to get Call of Duty on their Call of Duty on their Call of Duty on Xbox.
There you go. Let's see. I think that ends our story mode. Let's get into some predictions, and then we'll get into what we'll play this week, and then we'll get out of here.
All right.
My prediction, I'll go first since you did the story, are for, again, the end of the year. I predicted last week about layoffs. We had stories about Intel laying off a bunch of people. There's been some other tech companies. We actually went to a site ourselves, and you guys can go yourselves. It's called peerless.io/layoff/tracker. This will let you know which companies have laid off people weekly. in the industry, tech industry related. So if you want to keep up on, if you have a morbid curiosity, it's like, when old people read the obituaries. If you had that kind of curiosity, you can go ahead and do that. Or if you just want to, maybe see if you want to spot trends and you start seeing maybe companies in your industry doing more of it, you might want to start polishing off that resume or visiting LinkedIn a little bit more. It's just good to know, have information. But that's where we got the information about the Intel thing. And so my prediction for layoffs, unfortunately, was correct. So I'm going to try and do a prediction that's less about layoffs and more just about tech, and hopefully it works out. But this is for CES. If we don't hear from you guys, if we don't have a pod before CES, I expect to hear a lot about AIG in devices. It is no longer cool to just have AI. You have to have your AI finally do something. And hopefully we'll have people throwing stuff at the wall that allows their devices to do things more instead of just being prompted to do things. You don't have to necessarily tell your, robots or your AI, your digital assistants to do things. They'll start doing it on their own. Maybe they'll learn from the Roombas. I always think of the CES when Roomba showed up and was like, this thing is never going to take off. It has one now. But if you notice, the Roomba just does it. You don't have to tell it to do anything. It's to say, hey, I need to clean. I'm going to clean for the next 2 hours. I'm going to go everywhere and do it. Hopefully AI can get as smart as a Roomba this year or this upcoming year, where you tell it, hey, you're in the house, you're doing something for me, just go do it and be good about it. Now, not every Roomba is great. Some Roombas eat cats or try to. Some Roombas leave huge messages. You're like, how did you miss that? But we're working, ladies and gentlemen. They're at least doing it on their own cognition, and we'll work on how well they do it in the future. Right now, AI needs to be prompt. Maybe the next step is it does it on its own, and then you train it to do even better. What are your predictions for next week or 2026, first month?
I'm going to stick on your same topic here. I think 2026 is boom or bust for AI. I think you are right on topic with, because if you've noticed, you brought up Roomba. I have a Roomba in my house. It's one of the older ones, doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles. So when Black Friday came up, I was looking at the new Roombas that I haven't seen. They're upwards of $1,000. One's actually closer to $1,500. But I noticed when you got up there to about the $899 mark, you saw AI, Roomba AI, Roomba AI, Roomba AI. And I'm going to stick with your prediction. AI is going to just start doing things. And it's going to do things like chores. That was a perfect example. It's going to maybe start paying your bills on your behalf. It's going to start sending emails on your behalf. Now, we hope that these are things that you have to set up, and users have control over, but these are some very simplistic examples. But I feel like part of my prediction is if we don't get to that point in 2026, this current AI bubble will bust. I have seen on some other podcasts where people that are in tech and some that are not in tech are already predicting that 2026 is the bust year. We're going to go through another .com, like we had the .com bust many years ago. We're going to go through the AI bust. I agree. It's either going to be useful to the average consumer in the office, out of the office, and it's going to be accurate, because if the consumer has to interfere, step in, they might as well do the job themselves. So this is to make it or break it for AI. I like it. I like seeing it advance. I love what we're doing on the website with, being able to cover and see it advance. But I want to see it move. I don't want to be when we come back December 2026, I don't want to have to say, well, David, what was your regret for this year? I don't want to say, well, AI busted, AI didn't make it. Companies wasted billions of dollars. That's not the report that I want to be giving Q4 of next year.
Well, I agree with that. We're going to go into gaming, but I just had one thing, and this is real quick.
Sure.
About the Roomba thing. We joke about, robots, doing things, and for better or for worse, hopefully they do it well, but they may just start doing things. And it reminded me, this is kind of off tangent a little bit, but I was watching a video of one of those Boston Dynamic robots. And I don't know, it's a good question I was going to ask you. Those robots look goofy, right? When they're walking around and getting pushed. And I realized, and it was a video that was showing it, that is actually built in to make them seem less threatening. And I saw a video where this thing moved so fast and so quickly that it was scary. And then it got me thinking, we have automated processes like that build cars that like laser etch steel to a precision. This stuttering walk thing is funny and gimmicky, but it's again designed to ease our own comfort with how quickly and efficient robots can actually move. And when I saw this robot move, it was standing and then it got to a crouch position in like half a second. And then it moved in the crouch position very effectively. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. It reminded me of that Black Mirror episode where they had like the robot dogs or whatever. It was, again, it is bone chilling how efficient robots are. And if they just start doing things on their own with this kind of movement, I am like Will Smith in iRobot. I am terrified of it.
I don't want this to go too far in left field, but did you see the ones that, like you're mentioning, are very human-like? Now, regardless of what you think of the person, they were made by Elon Musk. And because they were made where Tesla's made. And I saw a video where he was showing, it was this week or last week, where he was showing how human-like they were. And, they were running across a room similar to what you mentioned, and they looked like an athlete running across the room. And he, we're saying, look, this could be the next athlete, AI sports could be a thing, and, that's out there. And then, he showed some of these ones that look like people, they act like people. And, he says people will create relationships with these robots. And that's kind of why I paused there for a minute, because there's a part of that in me that makes me cringe. And then there's a part of me that says, okay, I can see where this is beneficial, because people that can't be social, people that can't get out and be social, people that are elderly, okay, I get it. But there's also the cringe side of it, of you're having a relationship with a robot.
I mean, we're already dealing with AI, so
and I'll put a button on it here. I think these are some of my predictions for 2026. I think we're going to see AI, robots, and everything kind of twiddle in our life. And it's going to be a hump that we have to get over. How far are we willing for AI to go in our personal lives?
Well, let me show you this video real quick, and you tell me how far you want this to go. This is a robot, just as looks like a scary child.
Okay.
This is what I meant about the movement. Yeah, okay. That thing is not stuttering. It is not falling. That is how robots are designed to move.
That looks on that's
right for the listeners. We'll see if we can add the link or some screenshots or whatever. But they are basically showing a bipedal. Is that what we call ourselves? Standing on two legs or whatever, robot. And then it like I said, jumps down into a crouch and then starts crawling with very fluid efficiency. And we start putting AI in those things, we might as well just surrender. We can move into the Terminator world, I suppose. Last thing, free play days. Let's get into what we can distract ourselves from these crawling robots.
Yeah, in case we need to distract ourselves from crawling robots or crawling, anything crawling. So we've got free play days this week, and as I mentioned in my post, we've got 3 games this week. We've been having 5 or more for the last few weeks, so maybe the team is taking a little holiday break for themselves. But this week we have, we've got Hunter Call of the Wild. Let's see, let me make sure I read this right. The Hunter Call of the Wild. We've got Spirit Tea and get ready. The dungeon of, I'm gonna say Neurobuke. The Amulet of Chaos Chicken Edition.
That is a mouthful.
Maybe I butchered that. Maybe I'm close. Maybe I'm not. You just gonna have to cut me some slack on that. These are your three titles for this weekend. Now, something I want to bring up, they all look to be highly rated titles. They're all either 4 or 5 stars. So despite the name, that may be a pretty good game to play. I'm going to try that out this weekend just because I want to see what that name might mean. As I like to remind people, make sure that you are getting your deals during your free play days. For example, the Hunter Call of the Wild is $23.99. Spirit Tea is $11.99, and the Dungeon of Neurobook, the Amulet Chaos Chicken Edition, I said that twice in the same pod, is $7.99. So, as I like to remind people, and I'm
a little late, but here you go.
Thanks. I'm going to poke at Microsoft every week until they do this, because you access these from Xbox.com, or like most people, you're going to sit down, sign into your Xbox, go, I want to go download free play days. Well, there's no icon for free play days on the dashboard or in the store. So you've got to go through your membership down to Game Pass Ultimate, down to free play days, and choose your titles there. So Microsoft, you managed to screw up a Copilot button in my new build of Windows that I found right before the pod started. There's seconds before we started. Can you please put a free play days? Nope.
You can ask all you want. I even have a feedback hub for you. Put it in there.
What do I put?
Close that feedback hub and put it away.
Yeah. Okay. So Microsoft is not going to give us a button for free play days.
That makes too much sense.
We needed a good laugh to end the year, so I appreciate that, buddy. But that's pretty much it for free play days.
That is it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to let my co-host grab his breath. You can find him at David, PAJ, 1978 or 1978 at blueskies.social. I think he is also on Threads under the same name, if not mistaken. But I think he's spending more time on Twitch, so go find him there as well, and TikTok. Don't find either one of us on X because nobody should be there. You can find me at Happy Hulk, all one word, at bluesky.social. These are our, if you're watching, they're at the bottom of each thing.
Yes.
If you have any comments, want to hang out with us before the end of the year, that's where we shall be. Until then, we will see you guys. Enjoy your holidays, as we always say. Enjoy whatever it is that's going to make you happy. So if it's food this winter, let it be food. Don't think twice about the weight you might gain. It's temporary. If it's music, go enjoy music. If it's being indoors, if it's being an introvert, be the best introvert you can be. If it's cutting grass, if it's being outdoors, if it's annoying people, maybe enjoy that a little less. Not everyone likes to be annoyed, but you can still go do it. Whatever it is, enjoy your life because life is short and we want you guys to have a good time. We will see you in the new year and take care. Be safe.
And I will throw this in. We should have some CES for you next time you.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. Merry Christmas.
Be on the lookout for that.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and again, I'll stop here. Thank you for everything you have done for us in 2025. Thank you for putting up with us, and we look forward to more laughter of free play days, buttons, and AI in 2026.
Scary robots and buttonless areas to go for gaming. See you in 2026.